I've talked about demagogues assuming too much power, but there is another way dictators seize power, and that's through worming their way through the government. When Putin came to power, barely anybody knew who he was. His methods, as befitting a former KGB agent, was to work behind the scenes, and his enemies were quietly eliminated. There wasn't this bombastic show of force you saw in Germany or Italy. It was like Franco or Stalin, who used their power in the government to establish control. In America, there are types of people like this, for example, J. Edgar Hoover, but he never had political ambitions. And I wonder now if that's subject to change. With greater scrutiny on the police and revelations about all the horrible things the FBI did back in the 60s and 70s, those racist members that make up our military and police are going to drop out and form private organizations. I don't think they will acquire power in the same way. Fear of the federal government is too strong in the United States among the far right. And obviously that's where dictatorship will come from if it comes here. Also, we are a country that has a massive entertainment industry. We like charismatic leaders. What the right is looking for is a cowboy. They want somebody who will ride into town, tough-talking, and throw all the crooked leftists into prison. With Trump, Bush, and Reagan, they got a taste of somebody like this. But all these people were wealthy, and two of them were from the entertainment industry. They lack authenticity, and also Trump and Reagan were old. It's harder to view somebody as a vigorous cowboy when that person is pushing 80. The racists of our police and military who drop out will be looking for work and probably seeking ways to change the political system that caused them to drop out. Politics is a wide open door and the inevitable destination. And with credentials in the police and military, they will be far more popular to the far right in this country than Reagan, Bush, or Trump, who came to power with hobby horses and plastic badges. These new politicians will be the real deal. Not only that, but their expertise in the military and police will enable them to succeed through illicit means. Now, obviously, the right has no problem taking power illegally, but we were saved by Trump's incompetence. If the next person who tries to take power has a background in military and law enforcement, they won't be making very many mistakes, and, that's what scares me. We have a massive military and a massive police budget. What happens to all these people if they are put out of work? If the economy does fine, then we are okay. But of course it won't be, because we live in a capitalist society where the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer. And global warming is also going to hurt the economy, and the oil industry isn't going to want us to do anything about global warming. We need to root out racism in the police department, and I think we'll succeed. But we also have to prepare ahead of time, because unless we become socialists simultaneously, all of those out-of-work police officers aren't just going to go away. Even if the economy was good, they wouldn't. But with a bad economy, the public will be looking for solutions, and conservatives will not want the blame placed on capitalism, so they're going to seek scapegoats. Immigrants, black people, trans people, any marginalized group will do. As the economy worsens, crime and chaos will increase, and a stronger police force will be sought after. Again, a former police officer seeking office will be an obvious solution to this. Now, what does the left have to counter this? Well, the best defense against people who work in the shadows is to shed light on them. Therefore, we should have investigative journalists, support ProPublica and whistleblowers. Frontline from PBS does a lot of great content. It seems to me the last real source of news in our country. Buy documentaries that delve into the inner workings of our society that the establishment would prefer us not to see. Now, of course, the murder of journalists and their ability to work is always under threat, sometimes officially, like with Assange and Edward Snowden. Other times, it's because they are killed, like the countless number of journalists killed by Vladimir Putin. Therefore, you need to arm yourself, and yes, you need to vote. Vote for the lesser evil. I always hear the lesser evil is still evil, but that's an attack on my phrasing, not my idea. If I said vote for the greater good, you wouldn't say the greater good is still good. Then people say both parties are the same. No, they are not. You might hate the Democrats, as do I, but there would be no change in this country if both parties worked exclusively for the rich. You think the rich want the New Deal? I get it, change hasn't happened in a long time. Hasn't happened for them either. And why do you think that is? Why haven't they repealed the New Deal if they really do have total control over the government? We must conclude that the poor in this country have at least some power. And it's not power that comes through private means. They don't care about us having an armed rebellion. First, because there's no leftist militias in the United States, no serious ones anyway. And secondly, because every time leftists have risen up violently, they were quickly crushed. What they do fear is political power, because then we have tanks and planes. We have access to the United States military. Why would they care about some crazy nut with a pressure cooker? Again, if we keep speaking up and keep supporting those democratic elements of society that remain, we will win, because I do believe in the marketplace of ideas. It's why we have the Electoral College and voter suppression. The Republicans fear freedom of speech. Of course, for moral persuasion to work, we need living people to persuade others. You can't make speeches if you're dead. Haven't heard a speech from MLK in a while, and I think there's a reason. So we also must attack strict pacifism. I don't own a gun, nor am I urging anybody else to do so. But we must get rid of this religious and irrational devotion to our own demise that seems to have been a part of the left forever. That it is better to die and let fascists take over our society rather than save children and innocent people from harm. I have trouble wrapping my head around this philosophy even when I was raised Quaker. It's a bit like talking to somebody in a cult. But I do have faith that hopefully I'll reach the next generation that didn't have it hammered into their heads that because they are leftists, any harm directed against them is justified if the alternative is them defending themselves. To me, that's a horrible message to teach children. And I think the next generation will be smart enough to see this bullshit for what it is.